In this training video, I'm going to be discussing the end of year procedure that you should do as the school year comes to an end. First thing you want to do is you want to find all the transactions that are still out, that are still open and have not been returned. So to do that, you go to circulation, and then you go to library transactions. And when you click library transactions, it lists all the transactions that are currently out. And there's several ways you can do this. One way is once you get the list here, you can click which column you want to sort by. So if I want to sort by title, I click that and it sorts by title. You might want to give this list to each teacher so they can be in charge of making sure the books for the students that are in their class are returned. And the way to do that is you can go up here to select filter and choose teacher, and then enter the teacher's name here as it's entered into the patron 852C field. That's where the teacher name is. And then when you click this green button here, you get a list of all the patrons that are in that teacher's class, and then you can print that report and give that to the teacher and tell them to make sure they get all the books returned before the end of the school year. Another thing you should do as well is go here where it says loans and then choose overdue loans all. And what that does, it'll show you only the books that are overdue. And then what you can do is click send notification, and then click send notification right here again, and then an email will be sent to every single person that has an overdue item. So that's the first thing that you want to do, is find out which books are currently out so you can get them back. The next thing you want to do is you want to go to catalog here, click the down arrow and go to cataloging tools, and then you want to select find and replace right there. And the reason why you're going here is you want to be able to purge all the patrons, all the students that are going to be graduating. You want to remove them from the system. So let's pretend the highest grade in your school is the 12th grade. So in that case, what you would do is make sure you have the patron table selected here, and then click the down arrow and choose grade level, and then here enter in the grade, and then click search, and then you will get all the students that are in the 12th grade. And then you want to purge them, so you want to choose select all, and they all will have a check mark here, and then you will just click purge selected, and then all these patrons will be removed from the system. Now, if a patron currently has a transaction that has not been returned yet, or they have a fine, or they have a message attached to them, then you won't be able to purge the patron. The patron must not have any open transactions if they are to be purged. And then once the patron is purged, then you want to add the new patrons and update existing patrons. Now, the way to do this is there's two ways. One is you create an Excel spreadsheet that has every single student that's in your school, and then you will save that Excel spreadsheet as a tab delimited, or you can save it as a comma delimited, and then you will import that file into Mandarin. And what will happen is when you're importing the patrons, it keys on the barcode number of the patron. So if you have an existing patron that's already in the system, that's in grade 10, and that same patron is in the file that you're importing, and in the file, though, it says that patron's in grade 11, well, after the import is done, that patron in your system will now have grade 11 instead of 10. because by keying on the barcode, the system looks to see if the barcode in the file you're importing is the same as the barcode of the patron that's in the system, and it knows to update that patron. But if the file contains a student that is not in the database, then that student will simply be imported. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is you can do a global find and replace where, for example, you would find all the patrons that are in 11th grade and change them to 12th, and find the ones in 10th and change them to 11, and find the ones in 9th and change them to 10. Now that global change we would do for you, so you would call us and request that. Now that you moved the 9th graders into 10, now you have no 9th graders in the system. So that way you won't have to add as many people to the Excel file. You will only have to add the 9th graders to the Excel file and add any patrons that are not in the system yet to the Excel file, and then you would import that file. Now let me show you how you would do an import. So in my example, I will go here and I will have to switch now to import. Then what you want to do is you want to add the file that you want to do the import. So to do that, you click the blue folder here. You navigate to where that file is. So let me get there. And I'll go to my training folder. And I'm going to import, let's see, make sure I can find it, this file right here. And there is the file, and then you have to click upload to get that file up here. And now I'm going to look for that, and there's the file there. And you also want to make sure for the table you select patron records. Now I'm ready to import. So I go over here to import to the right of the file. And I got 2 people I'm going to import into the system. So I'm going to click next. And then at step 2 of 4, you want to click next again. And then you're going to map the fields. Now, what you could do when you create the Excel file is in the top row, you could put the names of each column. For example, if you had that, instead of seeing Getty, you would see first name, and then here you would see last name, and here you would see barcode, and here you would see grade. So it would make it easier to know what field is which. So I know that Getty's the first name, and so I'm going to map that to the 100A field because I know that's where it goes. Now, if you don't know, you can click the double right arrows here, and if you have a pop-up blocker, you're going to have to allow pop-ups, and then you can choose the field. So I would just go to 100, and then I would just choose A, and then it would map to that field. And it tells you the names of the fields, as you can see. I know the fields by heart, so I know that the last name goes in 100C, and the barcode goes into 852P, and the grade goes into 852G. Now that I have the fields mapped, I'm going to click next, and then I'm going to choose the group that I want them to go into. So I'm going to choose the patron group, and then I'm going to click finish, and now it added those 2 patrons into the system. Now your files, of course, are going to have a lot more patrons, but you get the idea from what I just did there for the import. Now that I imported the patrons, the next thing you want to do is you want to go and look at your schedule. So you'd want to go to circulation, and then let me get out of there. So when you go to circulation, you will see this selections here on the left, and then you want to go to options, and then choose Schedule, and then click the Schedule tab. Now, if you have 2 periods, a lot of people don't, most don't have more than 1 period, but if you do, you want to remove the period that you're not going to use anymore. And you can tell by the to date if that period is going to be removed, because the new school year will be past the to date. So I'm going to remove this period. So I just select it, and then I click remove, and it removes that period. Now, if you have just 1 period, let me just make my days open here. So if you have 1 period, like here, you want to make sure the to date is in the future. Because what will happen is, if you start your new school year and the to date is in the past, then when you go to loan an item, you're going to get an error that's going to say general schedule failure, and you won't be able to loan the item. And the reason why you get general schedule failure is because the to date will be in the past. So before the new school year starts, make sure this is in the future. And I like to put this way in the future. For example, you can see I have 2022 as an example, so I won't have to worry about making that date in the future for a while. And then, of course, the from date, you want that to be in the past. All right? The next thing you want to do is you want to go to your holidays and exceptions, and you want to change these days according to what they're going to be for your new school year. So, for example, if you needed to change spring break, you could just click the down arrow and just go to the month you want or the day you want and click on it, and then that will change that day. And so once you get your holidays and exceptions all set up here for the next school year, next you want to go to global recalls. Now, let me explain to you what global recalls is. Global recall will guarantee that you will never have a book due after the global recall date. So in my example, I have here a global recall date set for May 30th, 2019. So the way this works is, let's say you have a book that's got a 5-day loan period. If you loan a book today, nothing special is going to happen. The book's going to be due 5 days from today. But as you get closer to this date, for example, let's say it's May 28th, if I loan that same book, the system is not going to allow that book to be loaned for 5 days, because this date here is going to act like a brick wall, and it's going to force that book to be due on May 30th. So this will never allow you to have a book due past this date. So you always want to set this date to be the day that you want all books returned by before your school year ends. And then once it ends, you want to change this date to what you want it to be for the next school year. And then after you change it, you just click OK. If you don't have a date set up here, then you click Add and add the date. Another thing you want to do as well is you want to be able to print any new patrons' barcodes that are in the system. Because a lot of libraries, I don't know if you have library cards or not, but if you don't have a library card, a lot of libraries will keep a list of the students, and they will then scan their barcode when they come in for a book from a sheet of paper. So to print their barcodes, you can go to Reports, and then you will go to Easy Label, and then here you can enter in the students' barcodes. I just put 2 there for an example. And then you click the barcode tab. Then you get a sheet of paper that looks like the label sheet that you will have, that you're going to put in the printer. And then you click on the label that you want the printing to start at. So I'll click on this label here, and then there it lists the patrons' barcodes. Another thing you can also do is, if you have the new report module, and you can tell if you have the new report module because when you go to reports, I don't have it here, but you would see a thing in blue here that you can click on to go into the new module. And then when you go into the new report module, it'll look like this. Let me show you. It'll look like this. And then here you can print patron barcodes as well. You can click the plus sign next to label barcode. And then you get all these different reports. And then you can choose patron barcode labels for Avery 5160 for date range. And then when you run that report, so if I click on it, you put the date range when those patrons were added, those new patrons. And then when you go to run this report, it'll only print the barcodes for those patrons added within that date range. And if you want this new report module, you can email support@mlasolutions.com and request that we give you the new report module so you can print the patron barcode labels from here as well. Another place that you can print the labels from is if you go into circulation and bring up a patron.
Attention.
Let's see.
Attention.
I'm not sure why I'm not getting. Let me go here and bring up a patron so I can show you. So if I go in here and bring up a patron.
Attention.
You can then go where it says select action, edit the patron record. And then you have a print barcode right here. And then you can click on the specific label you want to print the barcode to. And then it'll print the barcode here for that patron. But you can only print one patron at a time here. So those are a couple ways that you could print the patron barcode labels. And the patron should know what their barcode is. And I believe that should complete the training. Let's just double check and make sure that I covered everything, making sure I didn't miss something. So let's just check. Okay. All right. So that covers everything. And by the way, if you wanted to know more about the end of year procedure, you can go over here to catalog, scroll down to the bottom and click this library assistant icon here, and you're only going to get this when you're logged in. And when you click it, then click on documentation and additional information, and then click school year end procedure, and then you can click here and read more about the end of year procedure. All right, so that completes this training. And like always, if you have any additional questions, you can email us at support@mlasolutions.com.